great faith, all right, but in what, I sometimes wonder. In Almighty God or in the Almighty Jim?
Dad, we want you to marry us as soon as I've been ordained.
Ordained? Don't make any hasty assumptions, young man. Ordination isn't a rubber stamp job. Life, doctrine, learning, gifts. They're going to be looking into your soul and into your heart, and they're going to be asking themselves, what kind of man is he? Is he a rock on which to build a church? Or a dragonfly darting hither and yon? Is he really cut out to be a minister and a missionary?
The scene shifts back to Jim's ordination examination.
There is no but, Mr. Endicott. You are asking to be ordained by the church which your father has served so faithfully and well. And it is our job to find out if you are fit for this high call.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Endicott, we have searched into your life and we have found evidence of zeal, dedication, and high moral virtue. We ask you now to satisfy the church as represented in us of the orthodoxy of your beliefs. Will you now declare your faith in Jesus Christ as the Son of God, who was born of a virgin, who dwelt among us, who suffered and died and rose again from the dead for the salvation of mankind?
Jim is silent, but the voice of Mary can be heard.
To insist on the necessity of believing in magic and miracle is to make the church irrelevant to modern life. We cannot go out as missionaries and ask people to believe in things which they know to be absurd.
We are waiting.
I affirm my belief in the scriptures of the Old and New Testaments as the primary source and ultimate standard of Christian faith and life.
Mr. Endicott, this board of examination has satisfied itself with your fitness for the ministry of the gospel. May God bless your life and service to him.
There is a triumphal burst of music from a pedal harmonium. Jim and Mary turn at the altar at which they have just been married by James Endicott Sr. and face the congregation of a small church. The organist is smiling broadly and playing away heartily at a harmonium, which has an enormous bow tied around it with a placard saying, "To our daughter Mary and our new son Jim." The music swells in celebration. 1925, Chongqing, China. Amid the bustle and smoke and noise of the Chinese city, the same harmonium is being carried by several porters up the endless steps of the street in Chongqing. Surrounded by a curious and pressing crowd, Jim escorts visibly pregnant Mary in pursuit of their baggage and the jolting harmonium. The crowd is quite aggressive and menacing. There are shouts in Chinese.
Christian devils!
Mary is upset and intimidated, not only by the crowd, but by the sheer assault upon the senses of this strange new world. Jim, however, strides through the crowd with an expression of eager delight and seems to take the hostile shouts as a friendly greeting. At the gateway of the Canadian Christian Mission, they are welcomed by Gerald Brown, the head of the mission, and by Mr. and Mrs. Sidley, a missionary couple. A formal speech of greeting is presented in English by a young Chinese pastor. It is Yang Zhang, son of the family's cook in Chengdu.
On behalf of the Chinese Christian brothers and sisters here, and Mr. Gerald Brown, head of the Canadian Mission, and our colleagues, Mr. and Mrs. Sidley, I warmly welcome you, Mr. Jim Endicott, to come to China again to join us in spreading the gospel. God bless you.
Thank you for your welcome. Very happy to meet you, and your name is?
Do you not know me? I am Yang Zhang.
Yang Zhang? You're the son of Uncle Yan.
Yes.
Our cook in Chengdu married 20 years ago. This is too good to be true. Friends, this is Mary Austin, my wife. We're so happy to be back here.
How do you do?
Mary, you remember I told you about the Han brothers?
As the people are about to move into the mission compound, Yang Xiao and his young friend Ya Tingying elbow their way through the crowd and confront Jim in Chinese.
What are you doing here? Why have you come back? What good do you think you can do in China?
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I don't.
Yang Shao switches into his limited English.
Have you forgotten every word of Chinese? Brother Jimmy!
Is it really Yakshao?
Are you deaf and dumb in China?
Jim is at a loss for a moment, but then bursts out in Chinese.
You must paint it red! You must paint it red! You see, I remember.
Jim is very pleased with his linguistic triumph and wants to clap people on the back in his enthusiasm. But the reaction of those around him is a mixture of consternation and dismay. People in the crowd mutter to each other while others look around at the watching militiamen. Gerald Brown rather hastily ushers the party inside the mission compound and the gate is closed. Later, at dinner,
Because, my dear friend, when you say painted red, you're making everyone think that you support communism. And that is very unwise. For a Christian, it is absurd, and for anyone in Chongqing, it is very dangerous. But my brother and his girlfriend, Zhang Tingying, are doing this dangerous work. They oppose the government, and I have asked them several times not to do so. It's useless.
Are you and your friend really communists then?
We're shocked, Brother Jimmy. You think, oh, they are wicked communists. But aren't you people coming to China to spread the gospel, save the poor people?
Rich and poor alike, they're equal in God's eyes, and all need saving.
Then God does not see very clearly.
The rich people are saving themselves, as they always do. They don't need any help from any of you.
Brother, you're being rude to our guests.
No, that's all right. I'm not afraid of either.
Friends, I think the task of missionaries is to propagate the gospel to save people's souls. The church must avoid being involved in politics. This is very important. Jim, as for your training, the mission has decided to station you and Mary on the other side of the Yangtze, in the countryside. Mr. and Mrs. Sibley are already there, so you'll have good company and they will introduce you to our work. Now, Mary, I read you have brought your harmonium all the way from Canada. So won't you end this wonderful evening by playing for us?
from outside the compound, the sound of Jerusalem can be heard, rising into Chinese melody. In the next few scenes, the Endicotts are seen familiarizing themselves with their new life. Yang Shao and Jia Tingyi take Jim through the streets of Chongqing and out into the countryside to see the local conditions and to begin his lessons in Chinese. Together they encounter the evidence of poverty and depression and the arrogance of the troops of the local warlord. With Yang Zhang, Jim visits the school run by the mission and attends the funeral of a wealthy Christian merchant, at which there is a blend of Chinese and Christian religious ceremony. Mary attempts to face the challenges of the new environment, but finds herself lonely and anxious as Jim strides off to encounter fresh experience. In due course, their first child, Norman, is born. A few weeks after the birth, Jim takes Mary and the baby out into the neighboring hills where, on a radiant summer morning, he finds a rare species of dragonfly sunning itself on a stone.
What is it?
I've never seen one like it, and I don't think it's in the book.
A new species?
There. I've got it. Maybe they'll name it after me. Gompus endicotti.
A few weeks later, Mrs. Sidney is attacked and killed as she walks in the open street in Chongqing. Her attacker flees into the crowd and escapes, but the event triggers an outburst of anti-foreign feeling. At the mission compound, the gates are quickly shut and barred as the missionary community gathers together in fear of what may happen next.
Everybody says it was the communists who killed Mississippi, but it's not true. We think it was a Red Lantern Society. They have no political views, only hating foreigners. The local warlord is blaming us. He's arresting communists everywhere.
Are you in danger?
I must go to Shanghai, to go underground. I believe you are friends of the Chinese people, so I come especially to say goodbye to you. Don't believe all they will tell you about us. the future I'll come back to Chongqing to see you.
Dangerous time.
Have you know,
Where it is for me.
Christian cross on a gold chain. I don't believe it, brother. Magic charm for other children.
Neither do I. It's a symbol of French. Please take it.
And I will wear it. We will meet again.
Unless you say again, child.
I don't think that's in his power.
Oh, you might be surprised.
I have one thing to ask you. My comrade Jati can't be. Could she come to you for help if she needs some trouble?
Our door will always be open. Please tell her that.
And I believed. I thank you for her and for myself.
Meanwhile, there is a growing panic in the European community in Chongqing. People are flocking to the mission seeking refuge and direction.
Friends, the whole province seems to be in ferment. As a result of an incident in Wangshan, 200 miles downriver, British gunboats are shelling the town. The consul is advising that everyone make their way downriver to the safety of Shanghai by steamer immediately.
And at the first sign of danger, all to run away.
The British consul insists that all Europeans proceed at once to the steamer dock.
What about our Chinese Christians here? They could be facing disaster.
Your staying won't make them any safer.
But shouldn't we share the danger with them?
Jim, Mr. Sibley has decided to stay on in Chongqing. He will stand by Yang Zhong and our Christian flock.
Well, then I should stay with him.
No, listen, Jim. Mr. Sibley says that he has nothing to lose. He wants to remain for the burial of his wife. You should go. You must take Mary and the baby with you.
Next time, we're staying on no matter what happens.
His sense of guilt becomes more complicated, however, when a volley of shots from the shore forces passengers to scurry for cover, and bullets begin to zing over their heads and to thud into the ship's armor plating. The ship's captain orders full steam and gives a series of tremendous blasts on the ship's horn. 1927, Shanghai. In a quiet and closed garden, Jim is gently rocking a perambulator while engaged in a Chinese lesson with a severe middle-aged teacher who smokes constantly and drinks tea. The lesson takes the form of a question and answer exchange. Jim, whose Chinese is now much more fluent, asks a series of formal questions about the political situation in Shanghai. From this point in the screenplay, much of the dialogue must be understood to be in Chinese.
Honored teacher, what do you think of the political situation in Shanghai?
Now the Nationalist Party has split away from the Communist Party. Jiang Kai-shek's troops have come to the suburbs of Shanghai. The Communist Party, which was outlined before,
I understand it. General Chiang Kai-shek wants to strengthen his hold, so of course he must put down the rebellion of red extremists.
have you ever studied history?
I learned about the French Revolution in great detail.
Do you know what revolution is? Come with me. I will show you a revolution.
The teacher takes Jim out into the streets of Shanghai. There are red flags everywhere, but the air of celebration is turning to panic as crowds rush wildly through the streets. The teacher grimly leads Jim against the tide of the crowd towards the center of the storm. They are urged back by Europeans and Chinese alike, but the teacher drags them on. They pass beyond the limits of the European concession to an open space behind the Longhua Pagoda. The gendarmes of the local warlord have rounded up hundreds of communists and are systematically dragging them into the center of the area and beheading them.
There, your red extremist mob.
This is monstrous! Why doesn't Chiang get into the city and put a stop to this?
Do you understand that?
There, God in heaven, look! There, sure it's Yang Zhao. Yang Zhao!
Quiet, you fool! There's the thing you can do. We're going to be quiet and come away. Now!
The remains of the murdered men are being thrown onto trucks and driven off. The military are shouting to everyone.